Welcome to the Social Work Rants podcast, providing a platform for social workers to share their stories. The podcast covers a wide range of topics, including mental health, social justice, policy, and the day-to-day realities of the profession. This season, season 9, we'll be focusing on the mental and emotional aspects of money for people of color. Hope you enjoy. Hello, social workers, mental health professionals, and change agents. Welcome to another episode of season 9 of the Social Work Rants podcast. I'm your host, Bash Moreno. Saludos a todos. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, tapping in wherever you are watching or listening to the podcast. Continue to follow the podcast on all social media outlets, on Instagram at the Social Work Rants podcast. That's all one word. On Twitter, X, yeah, I'm still on it, at Social Work Rants. YouTube, hit that red subscribe button. Type in Social Work Rants podcast, hit subscribe. Facebook, Meta, aka Meta, at the Social Work Rants podcast, hit that like button. So yeah, we rocking and rolling with this season. This fourth quarter of 2024, the season of abundance, to continuing to talk about all different ways regarding money, because we need to talk about money in the social work space. And yeah, my guest is this time, Taijah Bell. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Before we get started, do the disclaimer, because I always forget to do the disclaimer. This podcast is not to be used as a substitute for individual uh, or any type of group therapy. For you have a therapist, call your therapist. If you have a psychiatrist, call your psychiatrist. It's okay not to be okay. Call 988. Call 911 if you really have an emergency. For all my listeners or viewers out of the country, whatever your emergency line of communication is, do that. It's okay not to be okay, but get the help that you need. And this podcast is sponsored by Bass Moreno Consulting, providing financial education for people of color in the sandwich generation. So if you are caring for children and caring for an older adult parent at the same time, you are in that sandwich generation. So for more information, go to bashmorenoconsulting.com. I'm offering a free 25-minute consultation to discuss how mental health is affecting your finances. So, Ms. Bell, let's talk about all the different things that we are doing or that you are doing. Um, no, just for those who don't know who you are, talk a little bit of who you are, what you do.
Okay, everyone. So my name is Taijah Bell. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I live here in Georgia, but I'm licensed in Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, and Georgia. And I am a therapist. I am the owner of Taijah Bell Therapy Group. So I specialize in working with women and with mothers. So your postpartum depressions, prepartum, and then women who just have your general anxiety, depression, life stressors. And I also am the owner of Moms Mental Matters, which is a nonprofit organization that's geared towards trying to improve maternal mental health through education, therapy, and building community. So as you can see, working with moms is a passion of mine. I'm a mom. I experienced postpartum depression. That's kind of what fueled me to kind of want to go into this field of postpartum depression and perinatal mood disorders. So I experienced postpartum depression with my first child. I actually lost my sister maybe like a week before I found out that I was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
That exacerbated, the postpartum depression and trying to grieve and birthing a child, being pregnant. And if you know anything about postpartum depression, there are a lot of factors that can predict if you'll have postpartum depression. So losing a loved one is definitely one of those. Sickness. I had a sickness during my pregnancy. It's hard to pronounce. It's called I forget the name. Gravidarum. I forget the name. It's a hard word to pronounce, but it's when you get really, really you have like a long lasting morning sickness. So that's like another like determining factor, like, me kind of being ill during my pregnancy, losing my sister, like being a first time mom is another predetermining factor of postpartum depression, being a young mother. So all these different things that kind of work together that contributed to me having postpartum depression. So fast forward to 2022, I actually did a panel discussion on postpartum depression where I featured like a doula, me as a therapist, and different moms that had postpartum depression. And it was like really, really good. And that's kind of what sparked me starting my organization. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm coming from working in the school system before I got into doing one-on-one therapy and counseling. So I'm from New York. So I worked in.
Hey.
You from New York too?
Yes, I
Where you
am.
from?
The Bronx.
I knew you was gonna say the Bronx. I'm from Queens.
My second favorite borough. Okay.
Queens get the money. Love Queens. So I'm from Queens. But I worked in the charter school system. I worked in the public school system as a school social worker, counselor. So transitioning to Georgia, it was kind of new going into like doing like community work for community organizations because all my experience has kind of been in schools, like for several years, like high school, elementary school. So it was a bit of a shift when I moved here. But I worked in I guess a variety of different fields in social work. So I've worked in schools. For the last 2 years, I've done contract work working with the geriatric community. So that was a interesting experience. I kind of just stopped it recently once I kind of, my private practice took off. Worked with the CDC before on an Ebola response mission, communities, social work. So I've worked in a variety of different fields, but I think I've kind of found my niche working with moms and working with women. Nothing against the men. I do get a trickle in of men. And they'll be like, I saw your profile and I saw that you work with moms and women, but I wanted to book you anyway. I'm like, okay. Felt like you could help me. So I was like, okay. So, I see a sprinkle of men here and there, but I've kind of really found my calling working with moms and the women.
No, that's good, especially with so much that's been happening with maternal, mental health, especially with women of color, and is this and the way our trash health system affects women of color more so than anybody else. So it's I'm glad that you found that passion and you know found that niche that is so needed, and as, as long as we're in America, you'll have more and more clients facing these issues until the government figures out something with this whole system.
It is so needed. Yeah, women of color are more likely to die from pregnancy complications.
Mm,
And the number one pregnancy complication is mental health disorders. So I just felt like there was a need for it. Like when I did this panel discussion, it's so funny. I was actually going through Instagram one day, and it must have been Mental Health Awareness Month, and May is also Maternal Mental Health Month. And I seen some statistics around the number of women that were committing suicide due to postpartum depression. I was like, oh my goodness, like this many women are committing suicide. And that's when I was like, oh my God, we gotta do something about this. I did the panel discussion, and I just posted it on social media. I had a lot of people who came out, and the response that I got was so overwhelming. And it was kind of like everyone was experiencing postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, but nobody was talking about it. I know I didn't talk about it when I had it because I just felt like, I mean, you're a mom, you're having a baby, you don't have time to be sad and depressed. You kind of gotta do what you gotta do. The stigma, like, gotta be a strong Black woman and show up for your kids. You don't have time to be depressed. So you kind of like just suffer in silence. So when I had this panel discussion, the response I got was so overwhelming. Like, well, when are we doing this again? And this was such a great space, and I didn't know that there were other women that were experiencing this. And then I had another panel discussion, and then I started doing support groups from there. And then I ended up like going to, I don't know if you're familiar with PSI, but that's where I did my training at in maternal mental health, and kind of just took off from there. And once I got licensed, I said, you know what, I'm kind of tired of working for these community organizations where they're just throwing any old clients at me, things that I don't specialize in. Like I don't specialize in schizophrenia, so I'm like, I don't want to be a jack of all trades, right? I want to master this field where when I say it never feels like work is so enjoyable. Because every day I'm helping women who look like me. Um, and not just in terms of color, like women who share my experiences just as a mom, right? A mom, a wife, being a working mother. So it just brings me a lot of joy every day to be able to, see moms who come in like, listen, I don't know how to set boundaries in my house. I'm losing myself in motherhood. I'm not practicing self-care. Like I love being a mom and like I'm miserable and I'm taking them from like, from day one where they're coming in not having these skills where a few months down the line, they're setting boundaries, they are sticking up for themselves, they're reaching out for their support system, they're saying no. They'll come to sessions like, "Dear Taijah, such and such asked me to do this," and I said no, and I didn't even feel bad about it. Like, you did. So this feels really
That's good.
helping women, helping moms and women find their voice, and just going on these journeys with them. Where like they come in one day one way, and then they leave just feeling happier, feeling more fulfilled, feeling like they can show up and be a better mom than they could the days before because they weren't taking care of their mental health. So when I say work never feels like work, it just, it feels.
I, I find that's key because obviously for many of us in the professions, like sometimes be like, oh, when you wake up, so you gotta like pause and like contemplate life decisions when you first wake out of bed and like, all right, I guess I go to work today. But to not only have like your own like private practice, but the work doesn't feel that work and something that you enjoy. I think that's very key because a lot of people in society, period, like are not satisfied with their work. They're just like, I need this paycheck. I got to do it. I got to do. So
And that's what leads to burnout, right? When you feel like just work is not, that's one of the indicators that like we can lead to burnout when work is just not fulfilling. And like, I don't want to get up and I don't want to go here, but it's like, need the money, guess I gotta go. But it's like, if you aren't fulfilled in your job, are you really giving your clients your best? Are you able to give them your best if you literally like don't want to be here? So I think it's very, very imperative that like I will preach it until I can't anymore. Like, find your niche, like find what you're passionate about in social work. Because one thing for sure about social work, this is the most diverse field. Like, you can do so many things in social work. Our skills are so transferable, and there's just so many different areas of social work. Like, you can work anywhere, so we're not limited. We can do so much, but I think sometimes we kind of just get thrown into a job and we stick with it, and there's so many possibilities, even if it's not entrepreneurship. So many different fields that we can work in within the social work field. So I will always tell people, find your niche, find what you like, what you're passionate about, what's going to fuel you, what's going to make you feel fulfilled, and get up and do it. So you don't have to feel burnt out and fulfilled at work.
yeah, I want to take it back for a little bit. So you go from Queens to Georgia. How was that transition like for you?
I mean, so pandemic time,
Mm.
in New York City, I'm in an apartment. I'm pregnant. I have one child. Me and my husband are pregnant with our other child. I have bonus children. Their parents are working. So in the pandemic, we got everybody because everyone's, parents is working. We're just city. We need a house. We have kids. New York City. The prices of housing is crazy. So, we knew a few people down here. We didn't really know anyone in any other states. So my best friend lived here. His cousin lived here. So we said, okay, we'll move to Georgia. Um, it was a smooth transition. My best friend ended up leaving like as soon as I got here, maybe like 3 months down the line. She moved. I was like, you've been wanting me for years and you left me. Um, but it was a smooth transition. I will say, we don't have like a lot of support here.
Mhm.
So, with me and my husband just having different work schedules, we have 3 children in the home. That part has been pretty tough. So I kind of had to go out and find my support system. Um, so that I want to say has been the hardest part, like being away from my siblings, being away from my family. Like, my husband is a big family oriented person. He is one of 14 children,
Oh wow.
same mother, same father. So when I say huge family, lots of grandchildren, some nieces and nephews. So like in New York, we were always at a family gathering, probably every week. So those aspects is like that. It's just us here. I mean, his nephews live here, so that part has been hard because we're family people. But in terms of like um we love it in Georgia. Like I would never, you couldn't pay me to move back to New York. I love it. It's just so peaceful. My kids enjoy it. You know, it's safe. At least where I live is safe. So you know, it's been really really enjoyable. I guess I enjoy being out of the city. I go back home and I'm like, oh my gosh, how long are we staying? I'm ready to go home. Why is everyone beeping their horn? Why is everyone yelling? Why is everyone outside 2 o'clock in the morning? So I'm adapting to being a Southern girl. City's too much for me. But overall it's been a pretty good transition. And my grandmother moved here last weekend, so I'm really, really excited about that. So, you know, I have a close family member here with me now.
Yeah, that's good. Yes, it's for me. It's been a transition
How long do you
to as of this recording be like 4 years in a couple weeks.
in Georgia also?
I moved to Delaware.
Okay, you're not that far.
Yeah,
Like a hop, skip, and a jump from the city if you need to get there.
yeah,
There's been a transition.
yes. It's definitely been a transition.
Nothing like the city. I
No,
do
it's,
I do miss the corner stores. It's like sometimes I just want a hero and
exactly. Or a
somewhere to
slice of
go.
pizza. Yeah,
Yeah, slice of pizza. You just want to go to the corner store, and it's like, gotta go to Kroger, and Kroger's closed. So, and I'm not going to the local gas station out here. So that's been hard. The food. There's nothing like
yes.
your food.
Yeah, absolutely. And the variety of different foods. Like,
Oh yeah, I pig out when I go home. It's like I'm here for 2 days. I gotta go to Jamaica Avenue and go to Margarita to get me some pizza. I have to go get me some Jamaican food. I have to go get me some Chinese food. I gotta go to Crown Fried. I gotta go to all these places because who knows the next time I'm gonna get me some good food.
the
So
margarita piece is still there.
Margaritas is still there. That little spot is still there. They're going up on the prices. Slice of pizza ain't what it used to be, but it's still there. Still the best pizza ever.
God bless them. If you know, you know.
Oh,
Most of my work experience has been in Queens, so I was always on the Ave.
did you work?
Oh, I did like foster care. I did work with adults living with HIV and AIDS, like scatter site housing, or just going to family court. Just a variety of different things. Just always on the Ave for something.
Like in the behavior health field, I've never worked in Queens before. All my jobs have been in Brooklyn or the Bronx.
Oh wow.
Never worked in Queens before. Yeah.
Yeah, I work with adults with severely mental illness. I will go from Long Island City, Jamaica, Far Rockaway, like
It was a lot.
all over. Yes, yes. So how was that transition? Like, starting your private practice. Like, what was that process like for you?
Um, so I have been doing research for months. Like I knew I was getting my licensure. I was finishing up my hours. I actually just got my licensure in April. And that's kind of like what sparked the clothing brand. I don't know if you guys can see it. I got my LCSW, licensed clinical social worker, hoodie on. I'll talk about credentialed apparel in a minute. But I had some really, really good mentors. So like both of my clinical supervisors were in private practice. So they kind of was mentoring me along the way, kind of like just giving me the ins and the outs and the scoop on, you know, just going into private practice. So I knew going in that I wanted to work primarily with moms and with women. Um, and I'm mainly using platforms. Not a huge fan. Like if you can get credentialed and like do marketing on your own, but I want to say it makes the transition into private practice a lot easier than what it would have been like years ago. So you have your Headways, your Grow,
Mm.
your Bright Side, Rula. Um, there's a few others out there. So it made the transition into private practice like really, really easy. And thankfully, like I was able to leave my contract job at the nursing home because I've been able to be like booked out 2 weeks in advance. So it's been a huge blessing, like just being able to rely on these platforms that are doing the marketing for you.
Mm.
People see my profile, and I was always have people like, "Oh, well, how'd you find me?" And they'll just like, I read your profile, and it just clicked for me, like, you were the one. So I guess having a niche and not, just being like everyone else out there who does anxiety, who specializes in anxiety and depression. So I guess having a niche has really, really helped for me. The
Mm.
transition for the most part has been really, really well for me. Like I've had zero issues so far, knock on wood. I've had zero issues. So from maybe I was up in credential maybe by May, June, July, August, September. So for the past 5 months, it's been a really, really smooth transition. I really don't have any complaints.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, a few of these platforms I never even heard of before. Like I heard of Headway and heard of one other one that you mentioned. Have they been around for a while?
Not sure. Like there's a few, but like I don't get a ton of people. Like I've never gotten a client from Headway, but I
Mm.
do work with Spring Health, which is the EAP. So Spring
Mm.
Health works with companies like Delta, Microsoft, and their jobs will give them a certain number of free sessions paid through their jobs. So let's just say most Delta clients get 12 sessions. And then once they run out of those 12 sessions, then if we're still going to continue with therapy, we have the option of going through the insurance. And then that's where Headway will come in, because you kind of get credentialed really, really fast when you go through like Headway or Grow, whereas like
Mm.
credentialing on your own is like a lot slower. But technically, when you're with Headway, on paper it appears that you are like with a group practice, but they credential you under them, and like they handle all my billing. So of course, like
Mm.
maybe in some cases, what you may get paid for credentialing on your own, you might get a little bit less with Headway, but there's also some people that like I'm credentialed on my own, and Headway pays me more. So you weigh your options. So when I transition a client to EAP to using regular insurance, then I'll use like Headway, or I'll use Grow. There's another one called Sondermine. Sondermine has credentialed me with probably like over like 20 insurance companies.
Mm.
Um, they don't pay as much as Headway and Grow, but you just have so many options. Maybe Ruler might be a little newer because I don't get that many people from Ruler, but it's you have the option. So it makes getting into private practice pretty easy, because you don't have to worry about billing anything. You put your note in. You put your note, your CPT codes. They handle all the billing. They handle the marketing for you. So it makes it really really.
Oh, oh, that's good because like you mentioned, like some like a few even like Grow. Like I've heard of them. I've seen some stuff on LinkedIn about them, but um, no, these other ones are there's always new popping up here and there, especially since
Yeah.
pandemic. There's like all these different ones that popped up.
Yes. And it's like good and bad, right? Like a lot of them get a lot of backlash.
Mm.
Um, because one, I feel like it's good because they're making therapy like super accessible. Or like, traditionally therapists have wait lists. People,
Mm.
the services can't get it. Therapy is super, super accessible. But the downside is like a lot of these companies are not ran by therapists. They're ran by tech people. And
Mm.
sometimes they may feel like, they don't have the therapist's best interest at heart. It's a money grab. So
Mm.
a lot of the therapist complaints are that like they lowball you with pay. So,
Mm.
what you would get credentialing on your own, they're gonna give you half of that. But for someone just coming in who like doesn't know much about like credentialing on your own, it's definitely a way to get your foot in the door, get your foot wet, get your name out there. So it has its perks, it has its pros, it has its cons. But if you're like looking into um getting into therapy and getting into private practice, is definitely great to have the option.
Yeah, of course. The more options you have, the better. Because, like you said, it's definitely a lot better than it has been, like even 5, 10 years ago. So,
Yeah.
um, and speaking of transferable skills, you mentioned your brand apparel. How did that get started? And
Oh, so this is my baby. This is credentialed apparel. Um, I wish I had like another piece to kind of show you guys, because it's on the camera, you can't really see it. But so when I got my license in April, the first thing I was like, I want to show off my credentials. Like I've been licensed. I've been working at this since I was 18 years old when I went away to college. Like it felt like a dream come true. Like 14 years, like we're finally here. Actually, maybe like 16 years, like we're finally here. Um, And when I went online, I could not find any cute apparel. Everything was just like very cheesy. No shade against like anyone who used like a Cricut to make their clothing. I'm a Cricut girl. I have a Cricut, but I wanted something that looked like professional, long lasting, and I couldn't find one piece of like fly LCSW apparel. So I said I'm gonna make my own apparel, and I'm a creative. Like if you know me, I have journals that I've created for moms. I'm just always creating something. So this was like very on brand for me. And I went and I designed something and I outsourced someone to make it for me. And I posted it one day. I didn't post that it was my brand. I posted in a social work group that I was in. And everyone was like, where'd you get that from? Like, that is cute. Where's the details? So you know, some people are just like funny when they know that like something is yours. So I was like, I ain't telling nobody this is my brand. Like for a while, I was like, I'm not telling a soul that this is my brand. And I just stepped out on faith. Like I had my designer create LMSW, these patches, LCSW and MSW. And then eventually I got the LPC because the LPC people were like eating me like, why don't you have anything for the LPC? I'm like, oh, sorry, I'll get it. Um, and I just stepped out on faith and threw it out there. And when I say like skyrocketed, like I sold so many pieces. I was able to treat my whole family to a cruise this summer. And it kind of just took off from there. And I was like, all right, well, I gotta keep the momentum going. So I actually just last week I created these bomber jackets. These fly LCSW bomber jackets. I kind of wanted to have that Greek kind of feel. You know, like Greeks just like have all of these different apparels. They got umbrellas. They have like all these things, and they're just like showing their letters everywhere. I'm like,
Yep.
social workers, like we should be showcasing our letters everywhere we go. Because this is such, if you know what it takes to become MSW, LMSW, those tests are hard. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of hours that go into it. And it's like we should have a lot of pride around being social workers. So I developed these like new jackets that I just launched, and it's kind of been taken off from there. So that's kind of how I just a need that I saw for myself because I work from home, and I'm like I always want to work in a t-shirt. So if you ever see me in therapy session, this is what I have on. I have on a hoodie, I have on a shirt, I got on a crew neck, I have on something that says LCSW every single day. I'm a walking advertisement for my brand too. So, but yeah, that's kind of how I came into it.
No, I like it. Well, you send me the bomber jackets. I'm like, oh, those are nice.
I actually while my designer is designing, because I buy some books. I can't just like do like custom stuff. But one guy was like, "Hey, I want a men's social work jacket." I'm like, "For real?" He's like, "I'll pay whatever." I'm like, "All right, well." And I had my designer like, "Can I add on one more thing to the order?" He said, it's different because men in social work. So he was like, "I'm cool with whatever." So there is going to be one man out there with a LCSW men in social work bomber jacket. So he's really unique. He's the only one who got it. So that's what we have working on. And of course, we're working on more, more apparel, and different things. But that's the latest product that we have.
Where can people go get the merch?
Go get the merch at www.credentialedapparel.com. So we have MSW, LMSW, LPC, and LCSW. Hoodies, shirts, crew neck sweaters, and now the jackets. So credentialedapparel.com.
You you got stuff for us big folks.
Yes, yes. It comes in all different sizes. All different sizes, all different ranges. We have a little something for everybody. A little something for everybody. So make sure you go check it out too.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll definitely check it out. Because I may need I might need some tips in 2025 to if I have some podcast apparel out.
got you. But one thing, I'm not a gatekeeper, so if I could put somebody on, show them how to make a coin, and give them some resources, listen, that's what we all here for, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that, and I definitely not a gatekeeper on my end either because we gotta share the wealth and all this. The purpose of the podcast is You're gonna learn something.
Listen, it's enough room for. I'm sorry, but it's enough room for everybody at the top. We all got something different to bring. But we ain't gotta gatekeep. We not
Yeah.
have to.
How did you get licensed in all these different states? Like the SEC, you like the SEC therapist.
Listen. And when I say all this just happened like within the last few months, and that was like one of my like quarter 3 goals.
Mm,
Every quarter I got different goals. The first quarter was like we studying for the exam. Second quarter is like all right, we passing the exam and we're getting into private practice. Third quarter is we're getting licensed in as many states as possible. Fourth quarter, we taking off. So here we are. Um, so of course I got licensed in Georgia. Um, Surprisingly, if anyone wants to get licensed in Alabama, it's a very quick process, maybe like 3 weeks.
wow.
Literally, application was cheap, probably $75. Submitted my stuff. Send your scores. Have what is the NASW or the licensing board send your scores over
Right.
in within 3 weeks. So that was the easiest one. So that's the only other state that I have an actual like physical license for. Now with
Mm,
South Carolina and Florida, I guess since the pandemic, they're allowing therapists to do teletherapy license.
mm,
Again, like very simple process. I want to say the hardest thing for Florida was I had to get a registered agent, which like you go online, you pay your registered agent
mm,
$20 to get a registered agent for the year. Um, but Florida, South Carolina, and don't quote me, but I think Idaho or Iowa, one of those. Those are 3 states that I know that are allowing therapists to do telehealth. So I can't like physically see anyone like in an office in Florida,
mm, mm.
in South Carolina, but telehealth I can see those clients. So on these platforms, and I think that's also what has really, really helped with like my private practice taking off because I'm licensed in all these other states. I have clients, South Carolina, Alabama, and Florida. So it kind of helps me with staying full.
Yeah, and it helps that they're in the same time zone too.
That helps. I actually was talking to a friend, they was like, I don't know if I want to be, but actually Alabama is an hour behind us.
Okay.
But when someone like goes on like a platform and they go to book, it'll book in their time zone, but when it comes to my calendar, it comes in my time zone. So I don't know if I would ever do people that are like 3 hours behind me. That might get a little difficult. Like I have one client, who travels, so it's like,
Mm.
day you're gonna be here. Time zones, like, it gets a little difficult. But yeah, for the most part, if you guys want to get a license in different states, they do have telehealth options for certain states, and the processes are fairly simple.
Yeah, that's good to know, especially, like we got transplants who when you move out of state, especially in big cities like New York, and it's like it's too expensive. We gotta move and move to all these other states, and
I would love
and
to.
that helps.
I would love to be licensed in New York, but first of all, the application for New York is so expensive, and then you have to like apply for New York like you're applying for like your regular application. So you know how tedious those applications are. I think you can like waive the exam. But I'm just like, oh, with the application, look, I ain't feeling this application now. But I would love to be like, just because that's where I'm from. So it would feel
Mm.
good to help people in New York, and then like I get a lot of people on social media like, oh, could be my therapist. I'm like, no, sorry, not licensed in New York. I know you, absolutely not. But it would be cool to be licensed in New York.
Yeah, everything is just as backwards in in New York.
And not to get in a dual license. Then it's just so much like CEUs you got to keep up with.
Mm,
All these
mm.
things. All right, I think four is enough. I think four things is enough for now. You got to renew those every year. They cost money. So it's like being licensed in multiple states are cool. And when it's time to renew it, you have $500 worth of renewals. It's like, oh,
Yeah. No, it's the stuff that is not discussed, in grad schools. Is not, and then like they want to gear us to private practice, but then like they don't. All this stuff you just said, they don't is not is
there's a
not
lot.
educated.
There's a lot like on the business end of things that they really don't teach you in grad school. I wish that was different. Like, people taught us about the entrepreneur side of social work and just like, thank God for like a lot of social work communities. I'm big on Facebook communities. There's probably a Facebook community for everything, and I'm probably in every group that you can think of. But I'm in so many helpful social work communities where, like, I'm able to learn, like, a little bit more about taxes and scheduling and just different things that they just don't teach you in grad school. So it's kind of been kind of cool to have these communities. Like, I'm in a group called Clinicians of Color, where we refer each other. I have a client now. I need to switch because I don't take her insurance anymore. Like, I can just hop in a group, or just if you have like a business question or a tax question. And there are social workers in a group who their niche is like taxes for social workers because they practice taxes. Like, that's their side hustle, but they know the social work and private practice side of it. So when I say social workers got so many side hustles, man, so many side hustles. And these groups have really also they've been really, really good for seeing like how much you can do with your within the field. Like, you have people who like have stepped away from private practice and they do only speaking engagements. You have people who have nonprofits, people who specialize in doing like retreats. So this just it's just so broad and so much that's out there. So I've really, really grown to love these different like social work communities that I'm in, because just lets you see all the possibilities within the social work field. Like, there are people who don't have to see a client another day in their life, but they're still using the skills that we've learned in school as a social worker to kind of like go out in the world and be helpful.
Yeah, there's like I said, we there's a broad spectrum of what we could do with our degree, and even you don't need to be licensed in any state to go get those coins.
Exactly. I'll tell you another side hustle that I do. Man, I just love using social work for things that I love. I have a love of traveling. And like, I've created a Facebook community, therapists who travel, for therapists who want to like get together and travel. Because like, if you know that you're a therapist and like a lot of us that work from home, we don't have any coworkers, we don't have any colleagues. Like, I would love to just talk to a social worker about like, the different challenges and being an entrepreneur. So like, that's the way that I've been able to fuse my love for social work and traveling. We haven't taken any trips yet because life is just life, and but the community is there, right? So that's just like another example of like how you can use something that you're passionate about, infuse it with social work. So many different things.
No, yeah, absolutely. Where can people? Well, are you accepting clients from your private practice?
I'm always accepting clients for my private practice. You can find me at www.momsmentalmatters.org. That is my nonprofit, which we have a therapy component. And I'm a therapist. So yeah, you can definitely find me. Or if you just Google my name, Taijah Bell, every platform that I'm on will pop up. Grow will pop up, Headway will pop up, Sonder Mine will pop up. Just different articles that I've been featured in. So if you Google me, you'll be able to find me for sure. If you Google my name, Taijah, last name is Bell, Bell, or at www.momsmentalmatters.org, or even by email, info@momsmentalmatters.org, or info@tajahbelltherapygroup.com.
Awesome. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
No, of course. I'm glad we're able to make this happen.
Yes, thank you for having me. Hopefully, it was insightful. You guys got something for it, and I'm rooting for all social work entrepreneurs. Step out on faith, and you can do it.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.